CKMS. Local sounds, thoughts, passions, and success. Celebrate local. Your neighbor's got a story to tell. Community connections. CKMS.
Happy Monday, Waterloo Region. It is the 5th of September, 2022. It's Labor Day in North America, which is odd because it's a statutory holiday and very few people are actually laboring today. We've got some new music with Peter Temple and the Cornerstones, recorded live at the Boathouse back in 2016. This is Boathouse Blues.
Keep your eyes on the road, your hands upon the wheel. Keep your eyes on the road, your hands upon the wheel. Yeah, we're going to the Boathouse. We're going to have a good time. Yeah, the back of the Boathouse, they got some bungalows. Yeah, the back of the Boathouse, they got some bungalows. And that's where the people like to go down slow. I said, roll, baby, roll. I said, roll, baby, roll. I said, roll, baby, roll. I said, roll all night long. You gotta roll, roll, roll. You gotta thrill my soul. All right. Roll, 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 you gotta keep on going. I'm a fool, I'm gonna be my line. I'm gonna, I got down. Ashen lady, give up your vows, give up your vows, save our city, right now. Everybody got a beer? Well, I woke up this morning, I got myself a beer. Well, I woke up this morning, I got myself a beer. Well, the future's uncertain and the end is always near. I said, roll, baby, roll. I said, roll, baby, roll. I said, roll, baby, roll. I said, roll all night long. All right. Thank you.
That's Peter Temple, recorded some years ago when the Boathouse was still going. And I hear we have some hope of getting the Boathouse back in action again. One of the big places for music here in Kitchener and Waterloo. Boathouse is in Willow River Park, formerly known as Victoria Park. And coming up this Saturday, September the 10th, we have another festival in the park, the WR Nonviolence Festival. And on the phone with me, I have Matthew Albrecht of WR Nonviolence. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Bob. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
We have a
We have a
little
bit of echo here. I think you'll be able to eliminate that.
soon.
Not
Not quite sure what
sure
to do
what to do
about
about that.
that. Can you tell
Can you tell
me
me
what is
what is happening on the weekend? WR Nonviolence Day in the Park?
What's that all
What's
about?
that all about?
It's going to be our 16th Nonviolence Day in the Park. The first one happened in 2005. But if you do the math, this year would be more than 16. But we missed 2 years because of if you recall, we had a global pandemic. So we didn't do anything in the park for those.
And sadly, I have just pushed the wrong button on the computer and cut Matt off in the middle of him speaking. Sorry, Matt. Let's quickly zip back to a little bit more Peter Temple and the Cornerstones while I fix the problems that I instigated on my own. Back in a moment.
Everybody scream! It's easy, Tom, I'll tell you. We're coming to get you. Thank you for coming out. Pete's up on the Cornerstone. Mike McDonald, give it up for Mike McDonald. Chris Latta, Magic Lukasiewicz back on drums, and Dr. Al Richardson. Thanks for coming out.
That's Pete Temple and the Cornerstones at the Boathouse. I think in 2016, that was a piece called La Grange. And I think we've got Matt Albrecht back on the line again. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Bob.
And the sound is much better this time around.
Hooray.
Matt is the organizer and instigator for WR Nonviolence and the Day in the Park that's happening this coming Saturday. What is WR Nonviolence?
WR stands for Waterloo Region. Nonviolence stands for a way of being in the world. Nonviolence is not just a way of protesting, as a lot of people might think because of people like Gandhi and Dr. King. It's more than a way of protesting. It's a way of being in the world. Nonviolence describes a relationship between people. And because human beings are intentional beings, nonviolence is the quality of relationship we can have in all of our relations. It's not only possible for humans to do that, but it defines being human. Not to treat other people like an object, not to react to your environment, but to be intentional, to recognize the humanity in yourself and in the other person, and to act accordingly. So the day in the park, the Nonviolence Day in the Park, is a way to raise awareness about that. It's a banner called Nonviolence, and we throw it out there and we see who gathers around that. So for this event, we invite so many good community groups in our region doing so many good things to make the world a better place without resorting to violence. So that's really the start of this ongoing event, was a forum for community groups to show people their stuff. And it's a nice day in the park, and it's still summertime, and it's for the whole family. We've got crafts for kids and games for kids and local vendors. If you want to shop local, come on out this Saturday and talk to the various community groups. Maybe you can give them support either financially or with your time or various ways.
It's not just.
But
it's not.
I was just going to say, in these dark times, like it's pretty crazy times we live in, and sometimes I think we forget all the good things happening. So this day is a day to celebrate the positive initiatives in Waterloo Region.
And it's not just groups about nonviolence and peace that are the community groups at the Day in the Park. It's all manner of groups. You've got what other things? Political parties.
Amnesty will be there. KW Coalition of Women's. Oh, I'm just going to bring up my list here.
Yeah.
Coalition of Muslim Women, KW Animal Friends, Waterloo Region Climate Initiative, Fair Vote Canada, the Greens will be there, Amnesty will be there, Alliance Against Poverty. Yeah. So they're not directly talking about nonviolence, but they are working in that way.
And writers, we have a lot of writers this year.
Yeah, the KW Authors Club is bringing out a lot of, sorry, did I say KW? Cambridge Authors.
Cambridge Authors, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're a book reader or a book collector, you'll have lots of opportunity to get to that stuff. And crafts, we've got some people doing crafts, and there's going to be some music. Yes,
we open up with a drum circle featuring Cat Von Groove. And we have opening ceremonies, and after that, we've got the boys and I, a local band. We've got also demonstrations like exercise with Jolynn Martin. We've got the steel pan drums with acoustic steel. They've been coming to the Day in the Park almost since the beginning. We've got a Kijong session with Robin Grant. Alan Dicknader will be doing some music, and the day closes with the music by a band called Pay No Mind.
Sounds like a fun day. You said the Steel Pan Band has been there since the beginning. What was the beginning?
Just about.
What was the beginning?
the beginning was in 2005, and the first day in the park was in Waterloo Park, and it was launched from a good place, in the heart. You know what I'm saying? What can we do that is an awesome project that brings people together? And so we came up with that format based mostly on the Dandelion Festival, if you recall that, where it was the same kind of format, music and vendors and getting information out there. But the Dandelion Festival was talking about not using pesticides. And so we said, let's do something like this, but under the banner of nonviolence. And it was 2 people organizing it over 3 months. We did what we could, and it wasn't a great turnout. And I talked to vendors who didn't sell anything. And I felt so bad that the day was a failure because we didn't reach lots of people and vendors didn't sell their stuff. And so why would we do this again? But all we got was encouragement from people who were there saying, this message needs to continue. And from that, the group was formed, because originally it was just a day, a single event. But people came by and said, I want to help with this next year. And the people who came by said, can we do something else under the banner of nonviolence? So next thing you know, the group is doing a peace walk. And then we did a couple of years of a Nonviolence International Film Festival. And we've done art shows. And the group's always changing as members come and go. So the dynamic changes, our projects change. Message is always the same about nonviolence.
And since then, you've moved to Victoria Park, now Willow River Park.
That's right. And for the past 14 have been on Ruse Island. But Ruse Island is currently occupied by unsheltered. And so we decided to move it to the Commons. So we'll be kind of across the street from the boathouse on the Commons, that field that has the clock tower, but we won't be at the end by the clock tower, closer to downtown. We're going to be closer to the Jubilee Drive.
Right. We'll see how that works out, because that's a new location for the day in the park.
And the Ruse Island has a bylaw that says you can't have amplified music, but the Commons allows us to have amplified music.
Right.
So while we organized to go acoustically in this 11th hour, when we moved it to the Commons, we're allowed to have a microphone and an amp. So that's one little bonus that we can be a little bit more better heard.
Yeah. You may have noticed that I've been saying we when I'm talking about WR Nonviolence. I have a confession to make. I'm one of the organizers with Matt.
That's right.
And a few other people. Want to introduce the other organizers?
Yeah. Peter Jancy has been helping out for a couple of years. And Gary Jones was a speaker at the second day in the park, 2006. And he was talking about violence within the monetary system. And he's appreciated, I think, being able to talk publicly about that, because it's not common for people to understand that there is violence inherent in the monetary system. So that started a relationship between he and I. And he's been coming out to the nonviolence group on and off since then, since that long time ago. But this year something happened, and he really clicked into it. If you recall, Bob, when we talked about doing a day in the park after this pandemic thing, we weren't sure how much effort and resources that the four of us had. How can we do this? We're organizing over the online meetings. It's just not the same. And we agreed that we're just going to do what we can, the four of us. But I think Gary forgot that, and he just put the pedal to the metal. This year's Day in the Park Festival, it's basically the Gary Festival, because he has done so much in coordinating with the city, in coordinating with the vendors, so much of it. So a big round of applause to Gary Jones.
Yeah, Gary's been the driving force this particular year. What does it take to put on a festival like this? We show up at the park. I mean, the people coming by show up at the park, and there's all the booze there. And by 6 o'clock in the evening, it's all gone again. Seems simple enough. What does it really take to put on a festival in the park?
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness. What's the word for that? Determination?
I think that's a word. I think stick-to-itiveness is a word.
Because you gotta, we're just a tiny group. We don't have a budget for the most part. To do our event, we charge vendors money to have a spot there. We don't charge the community groups anything. We're not in it to make money. We just want to pay our bills. And so most of the bills come from the city. And none of that's fun. The day in the park is fun when you get to hang out in the sun and chat with people and play kids games, etc. But dealing with the city hall, who I must say have been great in all the years that we've been doing the day in the park. The city has been super supportive, but nonetheless, it's bureaucracy and red tape, and there's a lot of people working there. And so you talk to somebody and they pass the buck to somebody else, and then you. So, and then recently, we have to pay $187 to SOCAN. And I don't remember that cost before. And it's only $187, but that's from a group that doesn't really have a whole lot of money.
Yes.
And anyway, so all the red tape, and you think, is it really worth it? Yeah. The difficulties communicating with all the organizers. We've got the different acts, the performances. How do you coordinate all that? And we have the technology and the internet, and it should make things a lot simpler, but emails get lost and people forget. And so anyway, it's a heck of a lot of difficulty, and you think, I'm never doing this again. And then the event happens, and it's awesome. So you just keep doing it.
Yeah. The difficulty's been escalating over the years, hasn't it? I've been involved in this.
It feels like that, yeah.
Yeah, since about 2016 was the first year that I participated as an organizer. I attended both as an exhibitor and just as a visitor in the years before. And it always seemed to me that the Nonviolence Day in the Park was probably the nicest festival of the entire summer. It's low key, it was quiet, it was on the island in a shady space. This time we're in the main area in a shady space. But it was always the least hustle and bustle of the festivals, where it seems that you get the Rib Fest, you get the Blues Fest, you get the Multicultural Festival, and it seems like there's a hustle going on there. And I never found that with WR Nonviolence. And yet, since 2016, I think largely we just said to the city of Kitchener, we're going to be on the island on this particular weekend. Can you provide us with some tables and chairs and tents? And that was probably the extent of the involvement that we had with the city at that point. And
well, there's always been insurance that we've got to pay for, of course. And in previous years, we've provided food, and that's a whole nother ball of wax.
I remember chasing after public health permits and fire department permits to be able to run a barbecue.
Right.
That was.
Oh, and the other challenge this year has been volunteers. In the past, it's not really been a problem. You say, hey, we're doing the Nonviolence Day in the Park, and people are glad to help. But this year, it's for some reason, it's difficult to find people to help with setup and help with the welcome table and help with the kids area. So if you're listening to this and you or someone you know or love would be interested in helping out with a good event, please give us a call.
Yeah. What sort of help do you need? You said kids table. What else needs to be done?
Set up at at approximately 9 or 10 o'clock, let's say 9 o'clock, we will be getting chairs and tents from the city, and they have to be set up. We got a whole bunch of banners that we've accumulated over the years, and they should be set up. So setup is one thing, setting up the blow up stage, the tent for the stage. And then as far as operational volunteers, we got to make sure there's somebody at the welcome table handing out the programs, and someone at the kids area to make sure that kids don't break all the games and destroy all the crafts.
Games are pretty robust. As I recall, you've built most of them yourself.
That's right. My brother and I have built them over the years.
Yeah.
Some have fallen apart, so each year I amend them back together.
There's things like ring toss and we
used to do a ring toss, and we used to put names of people who were in the famous nonviolence people, like Thich Nhat Hanh, and you try to get the ring around Thich Nhat Hanh. But anyway, we don't do the ring toss anymore. We got a ball bounce. We got a pancake flip. Try to flip the beanbag pancake into the plate. We've got
there's Plinko. Plinko is my favorite.
Yeah, Plinko.
Where you put the little disc at the top and it bounces across some nails and lands in a slot at the bottom.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's fun to play those things.
Yeah, the kids love it.
Yeah. So we need people to just monitor that sort of thing.
Yeah. Just a few more. Right? We had, if you recall, I was saying our old friend Din was going to help us, but he's busy that day. So. Okay. So now we're down one person there, and
we've always had the meditation labyrinth as well.
Right.
This year we have the organizer for that, Diane, isn't available, so we need somebody to explain what the labyrinth is about. And
Gary's two friends have taken that over.
Oh, okay, we've got some people.
Yeah.
For that.
So the Peace Labyrinth is taken care of.
Excellent.
But anyway, we're in good shape.
Yeah. Do the people coming out to volunteer, are they expected to have a basis in philosophy of nonviolence? Does somebody have to be a nonviolence expert in order to come out and help?
Not expert, but just not be violent.
At least practicing the art of nonviolence.
They don't need to know why they're not violent. They just need to be not violent.
Yes. You were talking about the way that nonviolence manifests itself, and you said it's done. It can be done by people who are intentional beings, and I think that really is only human beings. Doesn't necessarily apply to lions and tigers and bears, who would do the things that we might consider violent acts, as they chase down their gnus on the veldt and rip them to shreds for dinner. But that's not considered violence.
Not to me. That's natural, isn't it? We can call a powerful windstorm, we can call it violent, but that's certainly not about intentionality. It's about natural forces.
Mm-hmm. And so, because that's not violence, because violence requires intentionality, you have to act with intention to commit violence, or can violence be committed through neglect and lack of thought?
Yeah, that's the thing. Violence is more of a natural reaction as opposed to an intentional action.
Okay.
A deferred response. It's not just push-pull. It's think about it.
So if athletes, boxers is always the good example to use. They intentionally go out and beat each other up. Would that not be considered violence?
We define violence as treating someone like an object. And you can do that verbally. There's no fists being thrown, but violence can be acted. If two people agree on how they're going to spend the next 15 minutes, then
And so
if people, there's no coercion there, everybody's in the right state of mind and you agree on doing something. Also, people will talk about violence in a video game, for example. Violence in the video game is not violence. It's portrayed, it's shown as violence. But if you willingly play the game with your buddy and everybody's happy and you're eating your chips, and that's not violent. If you force somebody to play Pac-Man, which doesn't seem like a very violent game, you know what I'm saying?
But the act of forcing somebody to play is the act of violence.
Yeah.
Right? And so even if if the game represents acts that would be considered violent in real life, the game itself and playing the game itself is not an act of violence.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Or movies, for example.
Mhm.
I mean, my wife and I like to watch really crazy movies, but we know that when the movie's over, we don't want to objectify people in the real world.
On the
That
other
was
hand,
just a bit of escapism, and now we're getting back to the real world, and we're recognizing the humanity in myself and in the other people.
Mhm. And so the intentional act there is that you recognize the movies to be not real life. The games aren't real life, and playing the games and watching the movies doesn't objectify anybody in the watching and playing of it.
Right.
Yeah. So that then led you to talk about the violence inherent in the monetary system. How could that be violent?
Wow. It's 11:30, and I'm in the middle of digging a ditch. So I'd like to, I love your question, but it's a bit of a long answer. But I still want to answer the question, but I also want to let you know I'm on a bit of a time crunch here.
Give it a minute, and then we'll switch to some more music. I think we've got some Sammy Duke on tap here. So a quick summary: what would cause monetary system to be considered a violent thing?
I'm answering that now or in a minute?
No, right now, and then take a minute to do that, and then we'll let you off the hook.
Okay,
And we'll
super.
see you on Saturday after that.
Awesome, thanks. The thing about money is it's how we do everything. It's shelter and clothing and food and art and philosophy and our government. Money is how stuff gets done. If you want to go for a peaceful walk in nature, it seems like it doesn't cost you any money, but you still slept in a bed and you're wearing clothes and you've had something to eat. So money is such an important system. And I think we take it as natural, as nature, as trees and rivers. We have a monetary system, and that's the way it is. We probably don't think about the history of the system. We just know that this is the way it is. This is the way it's always going to be. Essentially, one really important part of the problem with our relationship with money is for new money to enter the monetary system. One takes a loan out, an individual, a business, countries even go to banks and take out loans. The loan they take out is worth X, but the money owing is X plus interest. That interest doesn't exist in the world. When the money is created, it's X. What's owed is more. So currently, right now on this planet, there is way more owing than exists. And how do you pay your portion back? The only way to do that is to take from someone else. It's just the way that money comes in the system is set up to take from other people. Anyway, that's my quick answer.
That is the act of violence, and that people are being objectified as sources of money in order to pay back the debts that were incurred through acts of violence themselves.
It's if you take a little moment just to look at all the problems with the world. For example, I hear that the concern for the environment has been growing over the years, and if you ask yourself what's at the root of it, for example, why are forests deforested? For money. Why are oil fields money? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everything it comes down to this money thing. If human beings had a different relationship with our monetary system, we wouldn't have to do so many horrible things, or we don't have to. But we think we have to because of money. Why? Because of money. Or all the social programs that we could be doing. Well, why don't we? Because people say, well, where's the money going to come from? Well, who says we got to have this system that system that creates lack, and everybody's fighting over these scraps, and it does not need to be that way. But it's tricky because it's already in motion, and some people have a lot of money, and some people are dying and starving and live really poor quality of lives. And if you talk about, this is part of the problem I've had over the last so many years of talking about money and transforming the monetary system. As soon as you criticize this current system, then you're labeled, for example, communist. And it doesn't, we got to stop seeing that black and white. We have to understand that we're human beings, we're moving forward together in this limited time and space. How do we make things better? And we just have to think of things in a new way and use new words and build new relationships, and not worry about the this and the that, but what is most important, what is the priority, and how do we move towards that?
Right. So we'll actually, WR Nonviolence will actually have a seminar or some event called Usury Free Day. I think it's in November, right. Early November.
Yeah, mid-November.
Mid-November. So stay tuned to that. And how do people stay tuned to WR Nonviolence? How do we get a hold of you? How do we find out more information?
Well, that's a very good question. That's the most important question. The whole thing is about bringing people together. And we invite everybody to go to our website Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there's a little button on our website that says Join Meeting. So the website is wrnonviolence.org. And you go to that website on a Tuesday at 7, and then you see us in this little online meeting thing, and we chat, and we're human beings, and we communicate from heart to heart, and we try to figure stuff out. We discuss issues about nonviolence, and we ask ourselves, in what quality of world do I want to live in? And we can do that as intentional beings. We can act on our environment. We're influenced by our environment, but we also influence our environment. How can we do that non-violently to build a world of increasing non-violence? Mm-hmm. So that's how you come to wrnonviolence.org on a Tuesday at 7, and we chat.
Tomorrow night?
We'll go from there.
7 p.m., wrnonviolence.org. Click the
Yeah, good point.
button.
We're meeting at my place to go through the games and the welcome table stuff. So that's tomorrow at 7. We'll be doing that. I guess I got to make sure I bring my laptop out to my garage, and I'll pop that open. So yes, you're still welcome to come out, or to virtually come out Tuesday at 7. But we might be busy crawling through my attic trying to get out all the kids' games.
Yeah. And you can use some help with that.
Yeah.
So
Pete and Gary are coming tomorrow.
Right. And so if anybody else wants to help clean games, refurbish games, and just haul stuff down from Matt's attic,
That sounds excellent.
Send him an email message at info@wrnonviolence.org.
That'll work too.
And then Matt can get you all the details for helping out. And everybody should come out to Willow River Park on Saturday, starting at noon till 5 o'clock for the Nonviolence Day in the Park, the 16th almost
Iteration.
annual. Yeah, the 16th event. I guess it hasn't quite been annual because of the inadvertent break that we had to take. But that'll be there. We'll see you there. Let's get back to your ditch digging, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Appreciate that.
Thanks for being on here, Matt. That's Matt Albrecht from WR Nonviolence, who has organized a festival on Saturday, the 10th of September, 2022, in Willow River Park, formerly known as Victoria Park, right along Jubilee Drive. You'll see all the tents and booths and exhibitors set up. Exhibitors can show up there at about 11 o'clock to put their stuff in, because we should have the tents set up for you by that point. And then the festival itself gets underway at noon. I think Kat Van Groove actually has her drumming session starting a little bit earlier, 11:30 or so. So if you want to stop by as we're putting the finishing touches on the festival, you can go and have some fun drumming. I took Kat Van Groove's course a few years back. She's pretty good. She'll teach you stuff, and then you can come away as a drummer. So that's Saturday, the 10th of September, 2022 in Willow River Park. Let's have another listen to some music. We've got Sammy Duke on tap. We're halfway through a song called The Water Calls. This is Sammy Duke from his new album, The Speed of Life. I have a little bit more to talk about the Sammy Duke in a little bit.
That live in the light of the bright morning star, 1,000 miles away, 1,000 miles away. I'm dreaming of the island, a paradise in the sea, the breath of the coastline, dancing with the trees, in tune with the rhythm of the waves on the quay. I'm taken to the ocean, the water calls. As the sea parts its walls and the water caves in, and the fire picks his dorsal fin, exhaling his breath, miscarries in the wind. 1,000 miles away, 1,000 miles away, 1,000 miles away, 1,000 miles. I'm dreaming of the island, a paradise in the sea, the breath of the coastline, dancing with the trees, in tune with the rhythm of the waves on the quay. I'm taken to the ocean, the water cold. I'm taken to the ocean, the water cold. I'm taken to the ocean, the water cold.
Sammy Duke from his new album, The Speed of Life. The song is called The Water Calls. I got an email from Eric Alper. I imagine that's Sammy Duke's agent, who wrote to us saying that folk rocker multi-instrumentalist Sammy Duke encourages empathy on jangly, inspiring speed of life. New mindsets and new beginnings can be challenging to usher in, but Waterloo, Ontario-based folk rock artist Sammy Duke aims to motivate and inspire in his new single, The Speed of Life, available now from his album of the same name. Using imagery from a real-life motorcycle ride heading southbound towards Lake Erie, Duke sings of chasing the horizons on a long and winding journey rife with highs and lows. He leaves the concrete jungle of the city behind, along with billboards and neon signs and all the information overload that leads only to complication. Soon, we are in nature on the bike beside him, experiencing the fear and exhilaration of roads unknown. Duke's voice is husky with experience, but the guitar is jangly and the beats head-bopping and upbeat. And so we begin to have faith that this journey might just lead us somewhere okay. Well, the entire album is somewhat okay. It's actually pretty darn good. Nice to have more Sammy Duke material in our digital library. If you want to get your music into the CKMS Radio Waterloo Digital Library, send us an email at office@radiowaterloo.ca. Indicate if you're from the KW area. That'll get put into the KWCon rotation, gets a little bit of extra airplay. If you're Canadian and have the MAPL, the music, artist, performance, and lyrics performed and lyricized by Canadians, then you get in the CanCon rotation. CRTC requires us to pay some 35% CanCon content, and I think as a local community radio station, we far exceed that. So if you've got CanCon music, KWCon music, send us an email, office@radiowaterloo.ca. I'd like to get Sammy Duke into the studio at some point. I want to get all the local artists into the studio at some point, to bring their guitars, bring their harmonicas, bring their accordions, whatever they've got, and tell us about the things that are important to them, how they make their music. Let's listen to the title track off the album, The Speed of Life. This is the song called The Speed of Life by Sammy Duke.
Taking refuge from the city skyline, the concrete jungle closing. These modern marbles built by man's hands, slowly coming worth the wind. So we will press onward through the desert, our billboards and neon lights, escaping the information chasm, cruising at the speed of light. Moving fast to roads uncharted, the pressure untied, without knowing what lies ahead. We look to what we left behind, as we set our gaze to the horizon and see this new world unfold. We'll keep our sights on the pathway to where our stories will be told. Hey, oh, where we will go. Hold on. Oh, how we have grown. Ask ourselves what makes this life we're living. Love or treading the fault lines. Will we build a bridge as saints of honor, or drift like the great continental divide. And if we're meant to make waves like the ocean, love as high as waters deep. Do we set our hearts in one direction, raise sails and be set free? I know, oh, where we will go. Hold on, oh, how we have grown. I know. Oh, where we will go. Hold on. Oh, how we have grown. Oh, where we will go. Oh, how we have grown. Oh, where we will go. Oh, how we have grown.
Sammy Duke, the title track, Speed of Life, from the album Speed of Life. Brand new and a very good album, Sammy. Thanks for sending that to us. I hope to be playing it a lot in the next little while. The other musician that sent us some music was Pete Temple, who's a part of Pete Temple and the Cornerstones. He wrote to us and said, "Hi, my name is Pete Temple and I front the band, the Cornerstones. Years ago, we did a CD by Douglas Watts, an R&B review at the studio when Kevin Doyle did the show. This new CD came out in March 2022. I would like to send you the files if you don't already have a copy." We didn't have a copy, so thank you very much for sending us the files. And you can go to Pete Temple Music on Facebook or PeteTempleMusic.com. Pete writes that the band was part of Bobby O'Brien's Blues series this summer. So he thanks us for listening. Well, Pete, thanks very much for making the music for us. That's definitely the kind of thing that I enjoy playing on the show. Here's, I think, a fairly bluesy standard. Boom, 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 Boom by Pete Temple and the Cornerstones, recorded a few years ago, but a new album from this year. Pete Temple, Boom, 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 Boom.
Boom, 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 boom. Gonna shoot you right down. Take you in my arms. Make love with you. Love that is true. Boom, 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 boom. I like the way you walk. I like the way you talk. When you walk that walk. And you talk that talk. You knock me out. Right off of my feet. Come on now, shake. Shake it up, baby. Come on. Come on now, shake. Shake it up, baby. Come on now, shake. Shake it up, baby. Come on, take it away here, Bob. Boom, 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 boom. Gonna shoot you right down. Make love with you. And our love is true. You knock me out right off of my feet. I like the way you walk. I like the way you talk. When you walk that walk and you talk that baby talk, you knock me out right off of my feet. Come on, woo! Come on now, shake, 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 shake it up, baby. Woo! Come on now, shake, 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 shake it up, baby. Come on now, shake it, shake it up. Come on, shake it up now. Come on, give us some more of that.
Listening to Pete Temple and the Cornerstones, live recordings that they did at the Boathouse a few years ago. Just heard boom, 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 boom. I lack rhythm, so it doesn't come out quite right when I say it. This is Mojo working. And let Pete Temple take us out. You can listen to CKMS Community Connections. My name is Bob Jonkman. Don't forget about the WR Nonviolence Day in the Park at Willow River Park, formerly known as Victoria Park, this Saturday, September the 10th, 2022, starting at noon and going to the end of, 5 o'clock or so. My name is Bob Jonkman. CKMS Community Connections is sponsored by Radio Waterloo. It is produced by Jennifer Strong. Associate producers are Jeff Stager, Dylan Gravener, and Steve Todd, who wrote our opening theme music. We'll be back on Friday, probably a repeat performance of this, and you can download the podcasts at any time. radiowaterloo.ca/ccc to get the podcast and show notes and everything else. We'll see you the next time I'm in. And we'll finish listening to Pete Temple and Mojo working.
I got my mojo working. I got my mojo working. I got my mojo working. I got my mojo working. I got my mojo working. I got my mojo working. I got my mojo working, buddy. Just don't work on you.